Writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. The battle outside raging will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend your hand, for the times they are a-changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changing. For the times they are a-changing.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So good to have you here this morning. It is great to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Warming up our little sanctuary here on a chilly morning. It's good to see you. Welcome. My name is Joan Montagnes, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving you, this congregation, as minister. Hello, all of you who are watching online. It is great to have you with us as well, including all those folks who tune in after the fact. Good to have you with us too, in space and in time somehow. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo. We are blessed to be here, and we're blessed to be here together. And we acknowledge that the land upon which we meet, it rests upon the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee people, original nations of this land who continue to call for justice and self-determination. Some announcements for you. Right after the service today, we will be holding a new member signing ceremony right here in the sanctuary. If you would like to formally join our congregation, and if you have completed the new members class, or you have completed the coming of age program, we would love to welcome you into membership. If you would like to act as a witness to this welcoming, then please stay after the service to greet and celebrate with our newest members. We also today, at noon, so probably just about after the signing ceremony, there will be, the grief group will be in the Gardner room, the Marge Gardner room. Bonnie, who's wiggling her hand there, she's our facilitator for that group. And so talk to her for any questions. And if you can't find the Marge Gardner room, which wouldn't be a surprise, ask somebody, and sooner or later we'll find somebody who knows. But that's not an unwelcoming thing to say, is it? Then, a quick note, I'm going on vacation. I'm going on vacation from the 10th to the 22nd of this month. And not to fret, the worship associates and I have lined up some fabulous services for you, so stick around. And also a save the date. On January 22nd, we're going to have a congregational meeting to do the work of our congregation, so y'all show up for that. Save the date, January 22nd, after the service. Any questions on that? There's Bridget Evans. She's our Congregational Board of Trustees president, and she can answer whatever you need to know about that, or we'll find out. All of these are ways that we build community together, that we create an environment which is safe and exciting and thrilling and caring and bold. And another way we do that is by greeting our neighbors. We unveil the bonds that bind each to all. So take a moment and greet your neighbor. Say hello to someone you might not even know. And there's no bell.
Good morning. Good morning. Boy, you guys are social today. Good morning. My name is Eve Holberg, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Our call to worship is The Heart of Our Faith by Monica Jacobson Tennyson. What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change, to ask the question, to take that journey? What is it that says you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come, let us worship. And now please rise as you are willing and able to recite our chalice lighting affirmation. We gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves, to create a more just and compassionate world. And remain standing to join in hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us, in your gray hymnal.
This story is not about a kitten, hungry and dirty, scared and alone, meowing sadly,
Meow, meow, meow.
needing a home. And all the kids can come up. This story, your turn's coming up. This story is not about a dog who stopped when it heard the kitten, hungry and dirty, scared and alone, meowing sadly, needing a home. This story is not about the people who listened when the dog stopped, or the kitten, hungry and dirty, scared and alone, meowing sadly, and needing a home. This story is not about the twins who brought, no, it's not about a woman who held the dog, or the people who listened, or the dog who stopped, or the kitten, hungry and dirty, scared and alone, meowing sadly, needing a home. This story is not about the twins who brought a box just the perfect size for a little cat nest, or about the woman who held the dog, or about the people who listened, or about the dog who stopped, or about the kitten, hungry and dirty, scared and alone, thank you, meowing sadly and needing a home. This story is not about the man who was drinking tea on his porch and offered a saucer of delicious milk, or the twins who brought the box, or the woman who held the dog, or the people who listened and carefully, gently coaxed the kitten into the box, or the kitten who hissed and clawed and fought a big fight. Until she calmed down and began licking the delicious saucer of milk. We'll call her Amber. Everyone agreed, but who would take her home? Amber. Amber, okay. Okay, who would take her home? Could we ask the child? This story is not about the child who asked, could we? It is not about the man who offered the milk. It is not about the twins who brought the box. It is not about the women who held the dog. It is not about the people who listened. It is not about the dog stopped or the kitten, now full-bellied, clean, feeling very happy and purring and at home. This story is about the stopping and listening, the holding and the bringing, the offering and the asking, and the working together it takes to get there.
And now we'll sing the children to their classes, number 402 in the gray hymnal. Every week, we take a good portion of our Sunday morning offering and give it away to a social justice cause outside our church walls. This month, we are supporting the good work of the Clean Air Coalition of Western New York, and here is Bridge Rouch, our friend, to tell us about it.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be back in this space. My name is Bridge. I use they, them pronouns. Some of you might recall I used to work here like pre-COVID, a lifetime ago. But I am now an environmental justice organizer at the Clean Air Coalition of Western New York. We got started around like 2005 when neighbors in the Tonawandas started to recognize that something was making them very, very sick. So they all started to have like conversations with each other around like dining room tables just to figure out like what's going on. And they identified correctly Tonawanda Coke as the source of like what was making a lot of them very, very sick. So we are a membership-based organization. All of our campaigns are organized by and directed by like members of our organization who are located in either Buffalo or in the Tonawandas. I work with the folks in the Tonawandas. We also have a few campaigns run by my colleagues in Seneca Babcock, Delavan Grider, and we just started a new campaign in the Lovejoy neighborhood in Buffalo. I handed out like these sheets, like with they also have some more like out in the front. It has information about how to become a member. If you visit our website, cacwny.org, you can find information on how to become a member very easily there. We are also having a general membership meeting or just a general meeting altogether, like for anybody who wants to attend and learn more about clean air on the 19th. That will be on Zoom. It's if you want to register for that, that's also, the information is on this little sheet. And as I said, I'll have more during coffee if anyone wants to chat about that. We're also going to Albany on the 18th, the day prior, with New York Renews. We are a member of New York Renews, which is a statewide coalition working on climate justice issues. So if anybody wants to hop on a bus, early in the morning and, learn more about, clean air, I'd be happy to chat with you like during that 3 or 4 hour long trip. And just one other thing is we are currently hiring for an organizer. So if you know anybody who would be interested in working with folks on environmental justice issues, I'd love to chat with you some more about that. And yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bridge. To support our Share the Plate ministry, you can drop a check or cash in the offering plate that's going to come by in a few moments. You can use PayPal by going to our website. You can send a check to the church through the mail, or you can arrange a regular automatic withdrawal with your bank. If yours is a gift to the Share the Plate ministry, please write SHARE on the memo line, and it will be shared between the Clean Air Coalition and the church operating budget. If yours is a welcome gift to our congregation, please write Pledge 2023 on the memo line, and either way, please write UUCB on the important line. Cultivate generosity, care for the earth, and each other is central to our faith. Thank you.
We are shape of progress. Like nature, it's always round. Like nature, it's always round. We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles. We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles. We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles. We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles.
Our reading this morning is Ready by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. You'll need to travel light. Take what you can carry, a book, a poem, a battered tin cup, your child strapped to your chest, clutching your necklace in one hot, possessive fist. So the dough isn't ready, so your heart isn't ready. You haven't said goodbye to the places where you hid as a child, to the friends who aren't interested in the journey, to the graves you've tended. But if you wait until you feel fully ready, you may never take the leap at all, and infinity is calling you forth out of this birth canal and into the future's wide expanse. Learn to improvise flat cakes without yeast. Learn to read new alphabets. Wear God like a cloak and stride forth with confidence. You won't know where you're going, but you have the words of our sages, the songs of our mothers, the inspiration wrapped in your kneading bowl. Trust that what you carry will sustain you, and take the first step out the door.
Let's join our hearts and minds in a quiet moment of prayer, meditation, and reflection upon the words of writer James Baldwin. As we reflect on his words, let us be mindful of our journey. Let us be mindful that all things change. Let us be mindful of continuing emergence and continuing letting go. The poet reminds us, nothing is fixed. Forever and forever and forever, it is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down its rock. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses they have. The sea rises, the light falls. Lovers cling to each other, and children cling to us. The moment we cease to hold each other, the moment we break faith with one another, the sea engulfs us, and the light goes out. And now let us open our sanctuary of memory, caring, accountability, and hope to the names of all our loved ones, celebrating in joy and suffering in sorrow, each name a breath and each breath a prayer. The breath of nature is upon us, The spirit of life is within us. The community of love is among us. So be it, blessed be. And let the church say, Amen.
People come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. But I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a sea dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you've blamed me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet from orbit as it passes the sun, by a wind off the sea, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Goosebumps, am I right? Oh my gosh. I would be remiss if I did not send out a little word of gratitude to all the folks who made our bell ring inside today. It has been a long time coming and a lot of effort climbing into the bat-written belfry. Thank you to, I'm gonna leave people out, Josh and John and Bridget and Daniel, and I think Vince lent a ladder. No? Okay, he's looking at me skeptically, so no, he didn't. Anyway, all of you, thank you for making that work after goodness knows what went wrong. But we were ringing it outside, you just couldn't hear it in here, and now you can. Yes. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. So it has been 2 years since the assault on the White House. 2 years and 2 days. The report is out, and all we learned from the report is that the violence and the criminal offenses and all the threats to democracy were even worse than we at first thought. Major questions are being asked about what kind of a country we want to be. Everything, like everything since 2016 seems to be unprecedented, right? Don't you want to make like a drinking game out of it on the news? It's like, nothing like this or this or this or this has ever happened before. Times they are a-changing unpredictably, my friends, and nobody seems particularly happy about it. Well, perhaps as an antidote to all of this, the other day I was listening to the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu talking to one another about suffering and joy. Maybe some of you caught this conversation on Netflix. Anyway, they were these two spiritual giants chatting together as old chums, sometimes in painful reflection, but most of the time, really most of the time, giggling away at each other like beautiful bald babies. I was listening to the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu talking to one another about suffering and joy. And the Dalai Lama explained that in Buddhism, when life offers you suffering, like living as a refugee in exile, having to escape your country, or living in apartheid, under oppression of different sorts. He said, when your life is full of suffering, if you choose to be rigid in your outlook, you will continue to live in pain. But if you shift your perspective to one of growth and change, your painful conditions will become a new source of personal development and a source of growing compassion for others. Times, they are a-changing. Every circumstance is unprecedented. That's almost a truism. Maybe in order to be a relevant faith for today, in these vastly new days of plurality, social discord, climate change, and widening concerns for civil rights of every kind, maybe in order to be a relevant faith for today, we need to be careful that we're not being too rigid. Maybe we need to shift our perspective to one of growth and change, shift our perspective to one of deeper compassion for others. Now, I'm going to do a little rehash of my January newsletter column here, not because I was lazy this week, but because some important stuff is going down in Unitarian Universalism, and I think you need to know about it. I don't want you to miss it. So if you have already read the newsletter, and I know you all have, please forgive me the repetition. For those of you who, for whatever reason, didn't ravenously consume every single word of your newsletter as soon as it delivered into your email box, I encourage you to have a look at it, not because my column is like some kind of Pulitzer Prize-winning piece of writing, but because there are a bunch of links in it that will help you become part of the deeper conversation about our faith and where we're heading. So it's always good to start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. Let's just ask some basic questions about what is at the heart of Unitarian Universalism. And you know, in a liberal faith like ours, in a free faith like ours, theology begins with you. It begins right here in every individual. Your answers to these questions are important to shaping our faith. So let's ask some basic questions about the center of your faith. What calls you here? Calls you onward, calls you inward, leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make transformational change? The power to ask questions, the power to take the journey? What is it that lets you know you have done well? That asks you to learn some more? That brings you stillness? That holds you in hard times? However you answer those questions, your answers are what is important to you about this faith, about our shared faith community. And that matters. Your faith matters in our shared community. Now, some religions have a shared set of beliefs, a creed. Some of you might know a creed. Usually it's the Apostles' Creed. It's the creed that's written in stone, and it will never change. It's been that way. The Apostles' Creed has been that way since 325. Nobody's messing with it. We Unitarian Universalists have no creed. We don't tell you what to believe. We don't have a list of things we say, we believe this. We say that revelation is not sealed. It's not done. We're still learning stuff. We say we're always learning and growing as individuals and as a world community. We say what we know to be true and good and beautiful today will be different tomorrow. So we, instead of having a creed, a list of set of beliefs which do not change, a list of beliefs that are set in stone, instead of having a creed, we make promises to one another about how we will journey together as a faith community. These promises are our covenant. And as time changes, we grow and adapt, and so does our covenant. Now, both a creed and a covenant can sit at the center of a faith. The difference between a creed and a covenant, as I said, is that a creed is written in stone, whereas a covenant changes over time. Another difference, which is sort of dependent on the first, another difference between the creed and the covenant is that a creed is given to you. It is handed to you. This is what we believe, here you go. Whereas a covenant is a set of promises that we develop together, review, and then redevelop together. do it again. We're always evolving it. And everyone can participate and needs to participate. Here's some history for you. Way back in the 19th century, our covenant read as follows. And I'm trying not to choke on these words. We believe in the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, the leadership of Jesus, salvation by character, whatever that means, and the progress of mankind onward and upward forever. Needless to say, as feminism, ecology, pluralism, and the theory of relativity took hold in our minds and hearts and spirits and society and morality, this old covenant began to look a tad threadbare. Our center was out of kilter. We got a bit wobbly, and we're in deep danger of falling over completely. It was the members of the Unitarian Universalist Women's Federation who pushed for a new set of promises, which would be a bit more relevant for that day. And that set of promises eventually became what we know as our 7 principles and 6 sources. And those of you who are new here, if you want to look at them, they're at the beginning of the gray hymnal. They're listed there, and you can have a gander at them, and they'll get you a little oriented. This suggestion of these 7 principles and 6 sources that the women gave to our General Assembly, all of our congregations to have a look at, that all happened in the 1980s. Now, it's been tweaked a bit and swapped out a little bit here and there, but really, it remains essentially the same. Now, as we all know, the times, they are changing. It's time for us to ask how our new understandings of Black Lives Matters, restorative practice, power differentials, the electronic age, inclusivity, diversity, environmentalism, classism, mass shootings, Me Too, voters' rights, immigrant rights, GLBTQAI+ rights, disability rights, and more have changed our hearts and minds and spirits and morality and society. It is time for us to ask again, how can we be a people of faith in a changing world? How can we use our faith to change the world for good? How do we get relevant? How can we widen the circle of concern and compassion? How can we increase joy and justice and peace? In other words, it is high time that we have a good hard look at the world and ourselves and how we have grown and evolved over the last 40 years. It's time for us to ask, is it time for a total covenantal makeover? And the answer is a resounding yes, yes. It is time not only to live into a Unitarian Universalism of today, but a Unitarian Universalism of the future. It is time to get relevant. It is time to find a new center. It is time to widen the circle of concern. So, long story short, looks like Unitarian Universalism is tossing out our beloved 7 principles and 6 sources. I know, we were just getting used to them, right? Headquarters in Boston has appointed a commission to help us with this process. Now, the commission has a terrible name, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway, just in case you hear it pop up. It's called the Article 2 Study Commission, yawn, as if that means anything to anyone who isn't a complete policy wonk, right? But don't let the name turn you off. The commission has been busy interviewing hundreds of people and developing ideas about our shared values as a faith community. And I'm happy to tell you the conversation is not yet over. It will take years, and you can be part of it. This is the covenant we're talking about. This is our covenant we're talking about, the center of our faith, the basics of what is important as we journey together. So I invite you to participate in the conversation. Starting in February, Jess Pond, our religious education director, and I will be leading a 6-session workshop on exploring our changing faith and finding our new center, our covenant, our new covenant. And also, in your orders of service, you'll find this little slip of paper. It asks you a very simple what and why question. It reads, "It is important to me that my faith community is blank because blank." So it's important to me that my faith community is what? Because why? Instructions are on the back. Fill this out. Throw it in the baskets at the different exits. I'll post it in the parish hall, or you can post them on the parish hall, so we can continue the conversation within the walls of our church and beyond. Now I get it. Change is hard. We love our 7 principles and 6 sources. They ground us. Believe me, I get it. Change is hard. Sometimes, when we're confronted with big changes, we claw and hiss and fight a big fight before we calm down, shift perspectives, and discover that before us is a delicious saucer of opportunity for shared growth and greater compassion. Before us is a new home that is more welcoming than we ever imagined before. The times, they are a-changing and everything is unprecedented. It's a good thing that we are people of covenant who are curious, who say that revelation is not sealed. We are not yet fully formed, and we're never gonna be fully formed. We got a long, long way to go, and there's no end. Change is hard. So your heart isn't ready. You haven't said goodbye to the places where you hid as a child, to the friends who aren't interested in the journey, to the graves you've tended for years. But if you wait until you're ready, you may never take the leap at all. You may never become part of the conversation, and you will never hear the call of infinity bringing you forth into the future's wide expanse. Our faith is not about the 7 principles and 6 sources, or anything that's fixed or written in stone. Our faith is not about our history that tells us where we came from, or headquarters in Boston that makes commissions, or any of our hymnals that hold our favorite songs and phrases, or the ministers who serve our congregations, or the lay people who for generations have brought us into being again and again and again. Our faith is about the stopping and listening, the holding and bringing, the offering and asking, and the working together it takes until we get there. And our faith is about getting to a new home that's more welcoming than we could ever imagine. Understanding that home is the journey, our home is always changing, our home is continually emerging and continually letting go, and our home is always widening the circle of concern. Let's join in singing. Hymn number 295 in your gray hymnal, sing out praises for the journey.
Please remain standing as we recite the words we use when we extinguish our chalice. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
I wish you peace, but not for long. I wish you peace to rest, to reflect, to make ready for the coming day. And in the coming day, may the full force of your creativity and love be shared and released. Remember, you are blessed. Remember, you are a blessing. And above all else, remember, you are not alone. You are never alone. So be it. Blessed be, and let the church say, Amen.
weather.